Okay, now this is going to be solving some quadratic equations by factoring. Remember, if we had a trinomial, we could factor it. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to start off with something called the zero product property. So in other words, product means multiply. If two numbers multiply to give you 0, so if the product of two real numbers z, is 0, then, well, one or both of them must equal 0. So in other words, if a times b is equal to 0, that means either a is equal to 0 or maybe b is equal to 0. Well, maybe it's and or, right? Maybe both of them are 0, but at least one of them. Because if this is a positive times a positive, that doesn't give me a 0, right? Positive times negative, no. So we're going to use this property along with factoring to solve quadratics. So here's a quadratic equation. X squared plus 6x plus 9. Now, I remember this. This is, oh yeah, it's a trinomial. Tell me two numbers multiply to 9, add up to 6. Well, I know it's got to be 3 and 3. X plus 3, x plus 3. So x plus 3 times x plus 3, I can factor that. That's equal to 0. So look, this times this is equal to 0. So x plus 3 is equal to 0. X plus 3 equals 0. That means x equals negative 3. Or maybe the other one. Hang on, it's the same thing. X plus 3 is equal, that means x equal to negative 3. Okay, there's only one answer. X equals negative 3. It says verify. Okay, so I'm going to do a check. Remember, here's how I do a check. I write out the equation, x squared plus 6x plus 9 equal to 0. I'm going to take my answer, which is negative 3. Let's take negative 3. So negative 3 squared, 9, plus 6 times negative 3, plus 9 is equal to 0. Hang on, this is 18 minus 18. Yeah, that does make a 0. It does work. Okay, let's try another one. X squared plus 4x minus 21. Okay, two numbers are multiplied to 21. So negative 21. They multiply to negative 21. Okay, so I know this has got to be x plus, hang on, 7 and 3? Yeah, plus 7 and minus 3. Because that way they add up to positive 4 and they multiply to negative 21. So if x plus 7 is equal to 0, that means x equals negative 7. And if x minus 3 equals 0, that means x equal to positive 3. I have two different answers. Negative 7 should work. Positive 3 should work. Well, let's try them both. Remember, here's my check. X squared plus 4x minus 21 is equal to 0. So take negative 7, plug it in. So 49. 4 times negative 7. So minus 28. And then minus 21, hang on, that makes 49 minus 40. Yes, that does make 0. Equal to 0, equal to 0. Okay, and let's do the other one. X squared plus 4x minus 21 equal to 0. Is it? Well, I don't know. Let's find out. I'm going to take positive 3 and plug it in. So 9 plus 12 minus 21. 9 plus 12 is 21 minus 21 equal to 0. Yes, it is. Okay, next one. Let's try this one. 2x squared. Now, two numbers are multiplied to 5 and add up to 9. No. But this is a decomposition. Remember, it's 2 times 5. So I want two numbers that multiply to give me negative 10, and they add up to give me negative 9. Okay, so it's got to be 10 and 1. So it's negative 10, positive 1. So remember, the 9 is going to break into two different parts. Negative 10, I'm going to put the 10 beside the 5. So I got 2x squared plus 1x minus 10x minus 5 equal to 0. That makes sense. Here I can factor something. I can factor out an x. So I have to factor out something. There it is. X, 2x plus 1. Here I got to factor out something. I can factor out minus 5. So 2x plus 1 once again, right? Because 10 divided by negative 5 is 2. Negative 5 divided by negative 5, positive 1. Okay, so here we go. 2x plus 1, it's the same bracket. 2x plus 1 is equal, no, bracket x minus 5 equal to 0. So I know this one's easy. If x minus 5 is equal to 0, that means x equals 5. That's easy. This is a little bit harder. 2x plus 1 equal to 0. Remember, normally you'd move over the 1, negative 1. Then you'd go divide by 2. So x is going to be negative a half. There's my two answers. Negative 1 over 2, negative a half, and positive 5. They're both answers. Check. Remember, I'm going to go 2 times x squared minus 9x minus 5 equal to 0. The 5 is the easy one to check. I'm going to do the hard one. So negative a half, let's square it. Half squared is a quarter. So this is 2 times a quarter, in other words, a half. Minus 9 times negative a half, minus 5 is equal to 0. So this is a half, plus 9 times a half is really 4 halves, or 9 halves. Minus 5. Hang on, this makes 10 halves. 5 minus 5, it does make 0. It does work. Okay. So here's an example straight out of page 226. It's talking about the path of a Jack Russell Terrier. So here's what it is. You've got this little dog. Oh yeah, it's a great looking dog. He's running along. He's going to jump up in the air. He's going to come back down and splash and land in the water somewhere. Okay? So this is what this parabola is. The path of a Jack Russell Terrier on a particular jump runs along, jumps up in the air. There's the top and comes back down and splashes in the water. The height, which is a function of distance, is negative 3/10 d squared plus 11/10 d plus 2. H is the height above the water. This is the height. And d is the horizontal distance. This is the d, the distance. Okay. So determine the horizontal distance of the jump. Well, where the dog travels, they want to know where does it land. So in other words, they want to know what is the distance when the height is equal to 0. In other words, going up in the air and then coming back down, the height is 0. So this is going to be 0. So here we go. So here's my equation. Negative 3/10 d squared plus 11/10 d plus 2. And I want that equal to 0. Now, you know what? That's kind of ugly. I'm going to multiply everything by 10 just to get rid of the fraction. And you know what? I'm going to multiply by negative 10. Why? Because it's easier to start with a positive. So I'm going to multiply everything times negative 10. So this becomes positive 3d squared minus 10 cancels out. 11d minus 10 times 2 is minus 20 is equal to 0. So there's my quadratic. It's easier to deal with now. So hang on, 3 times 20 is equal to negative 60. So I want two numbers that multiply to negative 60, and they add up to negative 11. So 4 and 15, hang on, they add up to negative 11. Positive 4 minus, that'll work. Because these two multiply to negative 60, but they add up to the middle. Okay, so let's do this. 3d squared plus 4d minus 15d minus 20 is equal to 0. I can factor out d. Bracket 3d plus 4. Here I can factor out minus 5. Bracket d plus 4. It's going to be, divide out 5. I get 3 minus 20 by minus 5 is positive 4. Yes, it does work. So here we go. 3d plus 4. Bracket d minus 5 is equal to 0. So either d is equal to positive 5, or remember what we did before? We moved over the 4. So if 3d, so if I did it over here, 3d plus 4 equal to 0, I would go 3d equal to minus 4, and I would divide by d is going to be equal minus 4 over 3. Minus, d is this distance here, right? Minus would be back here. I don't want this to be negative. In other words, that's behind where he jumps from. So d is 5 means this is a distance of 5. That completely makes sense. So the distance equals 5, and this is in meters. That's a pretty long jump. Okay, last one. This was from page 228. It says the length of a rectangular lacrosse field is 10 meters less than twice the width. Hang on. Step 1. I need a diagram. The length is 10 meters twice the width. 10. So if I call this the width, 10 meters less than twice the width. There we go. Twice the width minus 10. And that's the length. And it says the area. Now, area is just length times width, right? The area is 60. Okay, so hang on. Length times width is equals 6,600. Okay, so I can just go W times 2W minus 10. I'm getting a quadratic. Here we go. 2W squared minus 10W, bring this over, minus 6,600 equal to 0. Why do I want that over? Because I want it equal to 0. Remember the zero product. If I can factor into two products equal to 0, I can solve. These are all divisible by 2, but you know what? It's an equation. Divide everything by 2. Instead of factoring it out, why don't we just divide by 2? W squared minus 5W minus 3,300 equal to 0. Can I factor this? Two numbers that multiplied they multiply to negative 3,300, and they add up to negative 5. Yikes. You know what? If you're smart, start at the square root of 3,300. What's the square root of 3,300? Where's my calculator? Let's try this. Ooh, is it going to work? Square root of 3,300 is like 57. I want to start guessing around 57. Hang on, does 3,300 divide by 57? No, not exactly. 3,300, does it divide by 55? 55 times 60, there we go. That's what I want. Two numbers that multiply to 5. So it's got to be W squared. I know it's W and W. So it's going to be plus 55 and minus 60. Now, the most important thing here, it's still equal to 0. Because if two things multiply equal to 0, either the first one equals 0, width is negative 55. I don't want this to be negative 55. I can't use that one. And then the other one is W minus 60 equals, that means W equal to 60. Hang on, that makes sense. This would be 60. So determine the dimensions. Okay, so that means that this one is 60. 2 times 6 is 120 minus 10, and this is 110. So the dimensions are 60 meters by 110 meters. That's really, really common. With a quadratic, you get two different answers, right? Quite often you want to throw one away. Same as what we did up here.